Gambling Machine. Hey Tom, do you have high stakes in Winamax? We have a couple of guys who play Winamax high stake. Team 61 does have a few people there playing the spins. Let's go at you for the question, Gambling Machine. Labulcus Draugus. Pretty much says, how many big blinds do you start and spins on this site? So 15 big blinds in ultras. On the reg speeds, it's 25 big blinds. The other thing is the blind levels are just a minute long, so they very quickly jump up and up and up and up quite quick. So get a little bit of play at the 10 plus level, but typically only a hand or two, and then you're down to much lower levels. So yeah, everything to think about. One-time board's pretty interesting here. We can check, we can bet. I'm pretty indifferent between the two. I'll start with a check. Quite cool. And good double check as well. We have a pretty easy decision if we double check and a heart comes. If we bet and we get raised, kind of sad. And then if we double check and I think we have a pretty easy bluff on the river as well. So we'll check again. We have a pretty easy bluff on this river. Yeah, worry about. We're going to go 3 quarters here. We can rep an 8, we can rep a queen, we can even rep a bit of a lower king. I think it's all 3 are fine. We could go bigger, but like we don't have tons of like absolute nuts in our range because we double checked here. So it's quite hard for us to have king X, We get called by bottom pair, which is sad. But okay. Maybe if we bet flop, not sure. GG. Wasn't to be. We have not won many all-ins, I'll be honest. Benjamin said, do you ever get to play for the million? Not yet, Benjamin. But as a kind of hypothetical thought experiment, we know, this is the same for every spin and go grinder, right? We can say with certainty that if you play infinite spins, or if you play 20 billion spins, let's take a finite, massive number, right? 20 trillion spins. We know that at some point you hit the $1 million spin, right? That's certain. There's a number of spins in a set of spins where the million will be spun. Guaranteed. And therefore, we can say that in a certain model of the universe you want to believe in, where whatever that number is, X, every spin we do, we're just getting 1 minus closer to that number, right? Which is a really interesting way to think about that, kind of, when you do think about that, right? Because then you're like, oh, so I just, like, every spin I'm getting a bit closer, you know what I mean, to the actual thing what I want to go for. And that's really kind of an interesting way to think about it, because you're like, it's guaranteed I'm going to hit it eventually if I keep playing. Now, this may be a bit of a gambler's fallacy, but I think both those logics stand to reason, right? You're guaranteed to hit the million if you play 20 trillion spins, and it's just a question of every single spin you're 1 closer to whatever that X number turns out to be. So if I hit this, it's a 1 in a million chance. If I hit the spin after 500,000 spins, I've got after this game 499,999, right? And just a thought experiment. Sick of the sevens, I've managed it just about. Real kids and prenup simultaneously giving excellent advice. You've got to win your all-ins. You've got to win your all-ins. We have not won many of them today, have we? Not won many all-ins. Sarah says, max multiplier you've played. If you type in command multi, that should work, or multiply, command multiply, I think they work as well. But it was a 200x at the 30s, so that was a 6k. It was a 100x at the 100s, that was a 10k. And it was a 200x at the 250s, so that was 30k, but also then 3k for second and third, so technically it was the 36k. And we lost the 30s we won the hundreds and we lost the 250s. So if you look at the YouTube Team 61 YouTube channel, you should be able to see footage of the 10k spin. Benjamin says it's kind of a gamma's fallacy. It kind of makes sense though, right? I mean, those two statements are true, right? It is inevitable if you play enough spins, and so it is a finite number, and every spin you play is one closer to that. That's to me anyway. Zeratinia is following. Thank you very much for the follow. Lost Practice says, why would you be guaranteed to spin a million? 25 spins. Okay, pick a number where it's essentially a guarantee. I'd take your point actually. We are in that kind of awkward spot where you're like, well, technically there's even with a 20 billion trillion spins, there's still a 0.1% chance you don't spin it and then actually your model collapses. That is true. It's more of a thought experiment to keep people motivated to grind. If that's something that helps you. Oh, we hit an ace. I was convinced we weren't going to win that. I'd already looked at the chat. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. We won a game. Outstanding. Outstanding. Quite bad says, do you ever check how EV's doing in different multipliers? Back in the day I did, not recently. I just trust that. There used to be an idea. There were two separate ideas. One which said people play badly in 2x's, so you win more EV in those. Another which suggested people play worse in higher multipliers, so you win more in those. From numbers I ran in the past, I didn't find significant differences in long-term chip EVs. It's difficult, obviously. Like when you played regs, they're going to play so consistently. So there's a spot I wouldn't imagine playing regs that has any impact on it. But playing recreationals or playing people who aren't on EV deals, it might vary. You might get a little bit more conservative play, careful play at the higher multipliers, maybe. But maybe you also get a bit more wild play. Maybe people are more likely to, make big bluffs or something, trying to win. Oliver 4105, thank you very much for the follow. Freedom says the odds are not that high anyway, but each spins you have to same odds, it never changes. You have the same odds each time you spin. I thought it's fun to be hopeful every time it's spinning though. Vinny says next spin's going to be winning. Next spin. Let's say this, okay, so it is a thought, like statistically, if we all played that amount of spins, we are likely to have hit the million. And if we've hit the million, then it is therefore would have then been true that every spin preceding that million was a spin closer to it. That kind of does work with hindsight. Let's leave it at that, because I agree it's a bit of a we're taking some mental gymnastics to make my little thought experiment work. Gonna start with check here. Pretty nice hand to just check back. Wouldn't want to bet and get check raised and then face a jam on the turn or anything. Gonna realize the equity. Not really a hand that we get that much value from worse. Even on the turn, some stuff, but on the turn, he probably pros most of it. Pretty easy call. Let's hit a diamond. I think we need a diamond to continue with the sound. Three's not great. I could be tempted to turn this one into a bluff, but probably, possibly give up. Does he fold two pair here? Probably not. Goes for a jam. Wow. Okay, interesting. Somewhat interesting. We do have flushes. Interesting. We are bluff catching with whatever, so we're bluff catching with 4 as well. And like this is a nice hand to bluff catch with. Yeah, interesting. Maybe shoves a 4. I'm not sure. Probably I wouldn't fold a 4. I don't think. But certainly like 2 pair. Kind of close to, I think. I might mark that one. Look at that. Be an interesting one. 5. Pretty close. Midgar says, do you know if there's a good guide to make a good spins report in PT4 to analyse my fields? So Midgar, I made, back in the day, I made a load of PT4 player position reports, which are still being pretty well used by a lot of people. I don't know of a guide out there, I'm afraid. But to be honest, if you make a player position report and you just put in some of the stats, VPIP, PFR, ISO frequencies, stuff like that, and then you just work up from that. You can always add stats as you go along, but start with the basics. Start with the VPIP and put in a position and put in number of players. You want number of players, player position, so you get 300 button, 300 small blind, 300 big blind, heads up small blind, heads up big blind. Your 5 spots to start with, and then VPIP, PFR, call preflop 2-bet, ISO, stuff like that for your preflop stuff covered, and then you can just look at a little bit of like flop limp stab or c-bet flop button or something like that. Look and see how your population is doing. If you know the GTO equivalent numbers there, you can see if they're above or below. It's a great place to get started and then try and figure out, right?